between 10 and 16 hours a day, man, 5 days a week. But real estate is my passion. So I wound up not able to do very much in my real estate company. And so I was doing, what everybody was saying. I was new to the wholesaling and all of that type of stuff. Everybody's like, oh, hire VA, hire VA. So last year was the last year I actually wasted money on VAs. I spent close to $25,000 on VAs, never even got a hot lead, right? And so I was using the software that I wound up building out of automation inside of, and essentially it's, I like to call it an ever evolving automation. So essentially it does the job of a VA as far as prospecting, seeing whether a person is ready to sell or not, and then booking a call or transferring it over to a live call where I hop on the phone. Mm-hmm. So I ended up grossing 6 figures last year using my software because I had a VA doing.
Congrats, man. That's a big number. It's a really big number for most of the audience here. They'd love to be able to have a success story like that. So congratulations. Before you continue
thank you.
I wanted to say that.
Thank you. But what I noticed is, I sat back and I evaluated everything. I'm like, so when I got VAs making calls and stuff, I get nothing, right? But when I implement my software and I'm actually doing the work myself, I'm talking to the sellers when they indicate that they're ready to sell and stuff. Like I'm getting deals, I'm getting leads, I'm getting things to the closing table. And so I was like, well, this is where it's at. And so that was when I decided to just cut off everything as far as like virtual assistants. I literally do everything in my business myself. And it's not that hard with my software because I have so many automations set up and things like that. I literally probably work about 4 hours a week. And that's just because I'm a workaholic. Like I can't.
That sounds like a little like Tim Ferriss there. You should write a book.
Yeah. I'm actually working on a book right now, man. It's funny you say that. I'm actually working on a book. But I'll find myself sitting down, bro. Like I'm a workaholic. Like I'm a perfectionist, which is probably it's a quality and a flaw at the same time. That's how I like to describe it anyway. But I'll find myself sitting down to try to play a video game for a few minutes, man, and I'll be like, yeah, screw this. Let me get back on my laptop. I got work to do.
Yep, I have the same personality, my friend. I get it.
Yep.
So then, all right. So a 6-figure last year, and you decided that this was how it should be, and you spent the last 3, 4, 5, 6 year or so focusing heads down on technology and workflow automations and making sure that you have a life on top of your real estate business is kind of the underlying message to make sure that you're putting your time, effort, and energy where your highest and best use of time is, right? So nobody can talk to a seller better than you. So if you can eliminate all of the friction related to getting that seller to the table to have a conversation about real estate, then you can show up with all of your energy as opposed to the opposite, which is I've been on the grind all day talking to shitty sellers that don't want to talk to me. And then all of a sudden, 3:45 comes around and you get a call from someone who's real and you don't have the mental capacity or energy to be able to say, hey, I can help you, because you just feel like these are the same people that you've been talking to all day with all the objections and things like that. So
you start stumbling over your words, you start stuttering and all types of stuff, man, because like you're so mentally exhausted, you're just like, and so you wind up losing that deal because you're stuttering. So the seller on the other end is like, this dude don't know what the hell he's doing. You know, so and then we go there. But what I forgot to mention was 2 things I ended at the end of last year. I ended my relationship with virtual assistants. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not completely against virtual assistants, but as far as prospecting, I'll never hire virtual assistants again. But I would do like data management and stuff like that. And I walked away from trucking at the end of last year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So my plan was my software actually was an accident, bro, because my plan was to I walked away and I focused in on my real estate business more because I felt like that's where my time was needed, as well as with my family. Right. Because honestly, man, last year I told you I was driving semis 10 to 16 hours a day. I don't remember anything about last year except for a pavement in front of me. from sitting behind the wheel of a truck like all year. So I'm like, yeah, I can't.
I'm sorry, you don't remember anything except for
like the pavement in front of me from driving the semi. Looking at the road in front of me, man. That's the only thing I remember about 2021.
Yeah.
And so I walked away from that, and I was just mentioning my software and my automations and stuff to fellow real estate investors in these groups and stuff like that. And there was so many people like, bro, like that's absolutely insane. Like, how did you do that? But to me, it's like I built it, so it's not that great to me. Just like, you guys, any painter or any artist on this planet, they're going to think that their artwork's trash, but everybody else is going to be like, oh my God, that's like the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And so I went a little while, getting paid a couple dollars here and there to help out other investors build out similar automations in the softwares that they were using.
Yep.
And then I was like, well, I'm ignoring this, but this is what I should be focusing on right now. So over the past, I say 3 or 4 months, I kind of slowed down with the whole real estate thing. Other than my automations that are running, I'm not like going full force. I dialed everything back a little bit, and I'm focusing on building my software. And my software, it's not necessarily a software. I have a marketing agency. The software is just a part of that.
Yeah. And
it's not just for real estate investors, not just for wholesalers, not just for real estate agents. It's for literally any business that's looking to grow, So, but I have a soft spot in my heart for real estate investors, obviously, because that's my background. Yeah. And so, the automation, I'm really trying to get the word out there, because there's so many people that were like me that are wasting money on VAs, stuck in a job so they don't really have time to work an 8-hour job and then go home and then do 4 hours of cold calling and then take care of the kids and then cook dinner and then do all of these different things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I really think that the automation portion of my CRM will help out young investors that are trying to get in this game tremendously, man. Yeah, and I just can't wait to get the word out there for everyone.
Completely agree. So let's talk about, for those that don't understand marketing as well as someone like yourself, let's talk about top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel, right? So you have top of funnel where you're looking to acquire your customer. And so what media channels do you like from either your software perspective, or where do you suggest to the customer base that they go for their top of funnel leads? If it's not VAs making outbound calls, then what do you think the best way to get top of funnel real estate leads are?
So especially in the economy right now, with this recession that's going on and just basically everything else that's going on in our country, gas prices and things like that, I feel like as a real estate investor, especially as a starting real estate investor, you've got to squeeze every inch of everything out of every dollar that you have, right?
Yes.
So there's a few different softwares that I utilize. Obviously, GeoPoint. I love you guys, by the way. So there's a few different softwares I use to try to maximize every penny that I have. We have to be tight with our money right now, or we're going to wind up either back at my job, which I don't ever want to do again, or just in a bad situation. And I think so much of us get started off the wrong foot because we're told you have to pull the biggest list you could possibly pull, skip trace that entire list, and then call that entire list. So to answer your question, as far as the funnel, the media channels that I like to use, SMS messaging. I'm real big on SMS and RVMs, man.
Okay. Yep.
I feel like SMS, like, because you could cover so much ground in such a small amount of time, and it's not super expensive either, So I feel like that's the best and most practical use of your finances, especially when you're on a budget and on a budget with your time as well. So
yep, definitely. SMS. Yeah, sure. And then you told me a story about how you got your first deal. Do you feel that, go ahead and tell the story about how you got your first deal.
So when I first got started wholesaling, I was listening to everything on YouTube. I was like, man, I'm gonna send out these postcards. I literally set up and hand wrote like 1,000 postcards.
Ah,
wow. Me and my wife over the course of about 2 weeks hand wrote about 1,000 postcards, bro. No BS. I'm not exaggerating at all. When I bought some from Staples, that was relatively cheap, but it was super time consuming, right?
Yep.
So ended up sending those out, man. There was a guy, John Quandall. He called me, and it wasn't even a single family property.
How many did you send out? Oh, you said 1,000. Okay, so one guy called. You got one call off of 1,000.
Well, a lot of people called, but most of them cursed me out.
A lot of them called. Yeah.
So this one guy called, and he just so happened to be on the tax delinquency list. He lived the state over in Nebraska, and he's like, "Man, you know what? I'm not driving up there dealing with that damn property. Tell you what, give me 100,000 for it. You can have it." And so I actually explained to him what I was trying to do. I'm like, "Man, I'm just trying to get my foot in the door in this wholesaling thing. I'll find you a buyer." Like, I explained the entire thing to him, and I wouldn't recommend everyone doing that, because a lot of people might not take that as well as John took it. But he was like, "I tell you what, man, I'll give you 60 days. Find me a buyer." And so for the first, I'd say 55 days, I was trying to avoid putting the property on media channels like Facebook and Craigslist and things like that. And so I was struggling. I was working with this realtor who wasn't really trying to work with me. He was trying to wait until my contract expired so he can pick the listing up. Right.
Realtors, yeah. I'm a realtor. Yes, that's unfortunately that's part of
exactly
business,
what I'm talking about there, right?
Yeah.
And so he's like, yeah, just remember, if you can't find a buyer, I'll list it. And he kept saying that. I'm like, you know what, this MF, this motherfucker, he's not trying to help me for real. And so it got all the way up to the point where the contract was about to expire, and John called me. He was like, "Hey man, I'm trying to work with you. I'm trying to help you out, but I need this property gone." And so I was like, fuck it, man. I put that property on Craigslist, and literally within an hour, I had over 20 people hitting me for it.
Wow.
Literally over an hour, because it was the numbers just worked out, and that was before I understood cap rates and all of those other types of things. And so I talked to this other guy, Jason Bingham. I went out and I showed him the property and everything. He snatched it up for $115,000. He had no problems with my assignment fee or anything like that. But looking back on this particular deal, I screwed myself out of about like $35,000. I could have easily gotten $150,000 for that property easily. Yeah. But it is what it is. I don't really care about the money aspect of it. That showed me, because I was brand new to the wholesaling thing, to the signing contracts. What that showed me was like, fuck, this shit works.
Yeah, sure does.
You know what I mean? So I'm just like, man. So after that, the $15,000 I made, it really didn't matter, because I ended up wasting it on VAs.
Yeah.
But the deals that came after that, it all, man, it's just a long story, man. I've had a long journey, and I've come a long way, I think, man.
Congratulations. Yeah, I can tell. It's the work ethic and the drive, that's easy to hear in your voice and your actions and everything. But then success, it doesn't come easy for many, many people. And so I like hearing these success stories, because it does happen, and it is directly related to the hard work. What goes in comes out. So you put a lot of work in, and then all of a sudden you've come out the other side with not only being successful in the wholesale world, but also being successful in helping other wholesalers drive opportunities for themselves in the same way that you were able to create an opportunity for yourself. So congratulations from all sides.
Thanks. And I just want to bring something else up, man, because I went through this a lot, so I can imagine that there's other people going through it, especially if you come from like the background that I come from. It could get scary. Transitioning over to this world, the world of real estate and stuff like that. And for a long time, man, I was terrified to get on the phone and talk to sellers. And I can only imagine there's a lot of other people going through that. But my advice to everyone out there going through that, just make that first call. You make that first call. If you get up terrified every single day to get on the phone, just make that first call, and all that fear go away. Whether you get cursed out, you have a 3-second conversation, a 10-20-minute conversation, all the fear will go away. And then you'll actually get I did anyway. I actually get after the first call, no matter how it went, like, yeah, I can do this shit. Let's go. And I'm calling and stuff like that. Because how I do mine, how I run my business is I run my automations, and then on like a Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon, I'll spend about 3 or 4 hours cold calling the landline phones because obviously you can't send SMS to landline phones. So and then I do that for a couple different reasons. The other reason is to keep my conversational skills up. You know what I mean? Because you have to have a conversation. I know there's a lot of people out here just getting started in this business. They would love to do everything from A to Z via text message, but it's just not possible. At some point, you have to get on the phone and talk to someone. So it's best to just bite the bullet and dive face first into it, get it done.
Exactly. Exactly. That's such a good. I mean, you brought up a couple interesting life principles, but the fear of the unknown is what many people get stuck in. And so, like today, I had to do a project that I have never done before in my entire life. And so I did every single freaking thing that I could do before I did the thing that I've never done before in my entire life, because I don't want to have to try to learn new things in order to do that new thing, And so like, it's so easy to do what you know how to do or what you did yesterday than what you're expecting to do the next day or what you need to do. Just do it. Nike says it best, just do it is one version of that. But then the other side is that the people that are scared of that first call are fear is a driving force, right? So like you can use that fear as a tool, but then the thing that I'd like to make sure people understand is that you already know more about real estate than anyone else because you're trying to do this and you're scared of making that first call, right? So the person on the other line does not know anywhere close to the amount of information that you know already. And so as long as you're good at holding a conversation and building rapport, that's 80% of the battle. You just told us the story about, was it John or who was your seller or the first seller?
John Quando.
John. Yeah. So John knew that you didn't have any experience in this, and he knew that $100,000 was very, very important to him. And so you were able to build enough rapport to make him respect you as a human. And then once you respect somebody as a human, you can say, all right, well, this guy will do his job, right? So that's I'll give you an example just on my side. It's I didn't know how. I bought 100 houses in 2010 and 2011. I had no idea how to buy 100 houses. I did every single one of them was at least a $40,000 construction project, which is now like a $75,000 construction project, right? And so I had no idea how to do any of those things. And my family gave me some money. My wife's family gave me some money. And then a guy in Utah gave me a boatload of money. And the guy in Utah was kind of the same story. He knew that I had no idea. Like I'd fixed some like houses. I had done this. I had done that. But I'd never really done property management. I'd never really found a tenant for a brand new property that I just finished remodeling. I'd never done any of those things. But my passion, it comes first. People can feel that this is where I am. This is what I'm trying to accomplish. And so you don't have to be an expert in real estate to let your passion come through. Exactly. And your passion can be a driving force for many things. Your passion became a child, and you had to decide, when am I going to let my child experience the same, South side of Chicago is not a fun place to grow up, but do I want my child to have that same experience? No. So now you have a passion on the call that's saying, I have to get this thing done. And people feel that, and people know that they'll you build enough rapport and they'll trust you to be the person that gets that thing done. So Kevin, Jhamel Beast helped me along the journey. That guy has big things coming. Stay following his journey. So Kevin, I'm sure you know, is he a customer of yours currently, or do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, Kevin Dunmore, man. Kevin's a really good friend of mine. He's out in Texas. We're actually getting started putting together a mentorship and some training courses and stuff for up and coming wholesalers. Super. So everybody be on the lookout for that, man. You can go follow my New Realm Facebook page and my RE Alpha Wolf Facebook page. You'll be seeing a lot about that over the next month or so.
New Realm. So New Realm, REALM. I'm not a great speller myself, so New Realm, REALM. Check out Jhamel in there. And where did you say Facebook and where else?
I got another page on Facebook. It's just the moniker I use for coaching and everything. RE Alpha Wolf.
Okay, RE Alpha Wolf.
So I might do that though. I'm on TikTok, Instagram. YouTube, everywhere. So go check me out, go subscribe, and stay updated with everything that we got going on over the next month or two.
Super. So it sounds like your favored channel right now is SMS. You've used mailers with success. You've used virtual assistants with little success.
Yeah.
And so these are all ways to get top of funnel leads, right? The first touch customer acquisition. So now we have somebody that wants to communicate about real estate, or at least has reached back out and said, hey, I'd like to have a conversation. So we're going to call that now middle of funnel, where top of funnel is customer acquisition, middle of funnel is nurturing, and then bottom of funnel is looking for a close, right? So let's talk about what you know. We'll talk about you can interwork your software into this conversation, obviously, for sure. But like, let's talk about nurturing a customer when they're not ready at that very moment. So your friend John was ready or no, he wasn't ready right then. He called you back, or help me understand.
No, he got my postcard and he called me, and we actually
Right
got the property under contract that day.
That day. Okay, so there's the people that are ready to transact right then and there, and then there's the people that need to be nurtured over a period of time. So I'm assuming with your large year last year, you had multiple people that weren't just there and say, oh yeah, I'm ready right this second. So help me understand your process of nurturing. Which I'd like to hear like the manual version of nurturing, just kind of talk through what's important in the nurturing process, and then bring in your software automation as appropriate.
Well, I'll just leave the software out of it for this, because this is more nurturing is a hands-on thing. Even with my automations, that's just to the initial contact to spark a conversation, right?
Okay, point.
Hey, Dustin, just reaching out. This is Jhamel. Still interested in the house. And if they respond back to them, I'm hopping on the phone. Hey, how's your dog? How's your kids? I remember last time I talked to you, you said, this and that, and just, building that relationship, because that these people have problems, and at some point they're going to want to sell, and you want to be right there in their face when they want to sell. Exactly. And one thing I want to touch on real quick, a lot of us, especially just getting into the wholesale game, watching all the YouTube videos and things like that, we expect to just pull a list, skip trace it, pick up a phone and get contracts. Right. That is not how actual business works. Don't get me wrong. You might have some one-off success stories. Like I sent out one batch of postcards and got a deal. That does not happen every day. That's an exception to the rule. That's not the rule. Right. Absolutely. And so you have to build these relationships with people. You call them, you have conversations with them. You don't just, hey, you want to sell your phone? No. Okay, bye. Like you ask them about, you hear that dog barking in the background, you talk to them and stuff like this is all part of building rapport and nurturing. Like, even if you just pick up the phone and shoot them a text, hey, Sandy, how are you today? The weather's good. I hear it's 90 degrees out there. Just anything, just to show that you are a human being who cares about other human beings. That is the quickest way, in my opinion, to build rapport with people.
I agree. Right. I agree. So I was going to share my screen. If this is, let me see if I can figure this thing out. So I just to bring up, I use a program. So I'm more on the development side than I am. I did $750,000 of wholesale transactions last year. But I'm more on I'm in a different business. Let me see if I can share my screen and see if I share the one that I'm looking at here. And then here. So I use a program called Notion. And so when you heard a dog barking in the background, and you can say, this person, dog, right? So the next time you talk to them, you can bring up a dog, and you're creating a scenario that you guys are best friends, even though you only had a 45-second conversation. If you know one interesting thing, then you've built what's called an anchor, right? And I'm sure you know these words, so I'm just giving it for the audience. So the anchor is the critical function for you to start where you left off, but way ahead of where you left off in round one. So these things, background info, history of interactions, and action items are how you're supposed to make sure that you always have something worth talking about when you're communicating with sellers, especially sellers, because you're not the only person that found their phone number, right? And so
you have to stand out from the crowd
that they trust. Say that again.
And you got to stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, stand out from the crowd.
Because most of these people that are calling, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Most of these people that are calling these sellers, man, you got to realize, like, everybody's pulling that list. Everybody watched that same YouTube video that you watched that said absentee high equity. Everybody's
That's right.
pulling that list. Everybody's skip tracing in mostly the same places, and everybody's calling that person. You have to stand out. You cannot call them with the same humdrum script that you pulled off of. I don't want to bring up any names, but some random person's website. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You can't do that. You won't get any deals doing that.
That's right. And so I'd be happy anybody that wants to reach out and ask for our script. We have a script that we use, and it's not a script at all. It's basically a questionnaire that says on the first round of conversations, you should cover A, B, and C. On the second round of conversations, you cover D, E, and F. On the third round of conversations, you're looking for a close. You're looking for, and so guy that I used to work with, it'd be 7 to 14 touches prior to making an offer, and so like, of course, he's going to make an offer in the third conversation if they're ready for that offer. But the average was between 7 and 14 human touch points, not just texting back and forth, just like real conversations. Hey, how are you? And so what people miss, I like that you brought up that people prefer to just do the texting, but what people miss in the texting is that there's a hard close there. The driving factors in human emotion is fear and greed, right? So if you can appeal to either the fear side or the greed side, not in the shady, I'm trying to take advantage of a person kind of way, but like that is a driving force, and people need the kick in the ass to make the right decisions, right? So the market, I probably should have sold the majority of my portfolio some time ago, but I'm working on selling my portfolio, transition into affordable housing specifically, right? And so I probably could have gotten a kick in the ass 6 months ago to accelerate the pace of my construction projects, and that would have been a smart thing to do in light of where we're at right now. But and the sellers need a kick in the ass, buyers need a kick in the ass. Everybody needs something that triggers in their mind that says, okay, now I'm going to take the actionable steps.
Yeah.
Because again, for those sellers, it's just like me not wanting to do the project that I had to do today. They don't know how to sell a house. They've never sold a house before.
Yeah.
There's so much friction related to that. It almost becomes, when they make that decision, it's almost an impulse decision, right? It's not really, because you can't force someone to sell the house, but it becomes an impulse decision for them to just take that first step. And that's really what you're trying to communicate. Exactly. You have enough rapport with the seller to have them feel comfortable with you as taking that first step. And then can you get them over the edge? What are you going to need to say in order to trigger that impulse decision to say, screw it. I'm going to, I would normally say, fuck it, but I'm going to try not to swear. Screw it. Screw it. So they say, screw it. And then they sign your contract, and now you got a deal, but it wasn't an accident. It was building up the rapport to say that they're going to say, screw it with you, as opposed to the 15 other people that they could say, screw it with inside a contract. And so timing, the right place and the right time, and rapport is almost everything. And so, Lonnie McKinnis asks for the name of the software that you built. It's you want to
New Round, NEWR.E.A.L.M. And I do want to pick up on what you just said, but for her, we're actually doing a challenge. It's called the Lone Wolf Challenge.
Great.
And so in this challenge, I'm going to walk you guys through exactly how to the right way of how to pull lists from PropStream, the right way of how to stack lists that you pull, and the right way of how to skip trace with GeoPoint. And then the right sequential marketing. So we're going to be launching that. Actually, it's already live. I'm going to be dropping the link on my Facebook page, on the New Round Facebook page later on after this call. So if you're interested in getting into that challenge, go ahead over and follow the page, and you'll see when it comes through. But to piggyback off of what you were saying, I lost track of what I was saying. What were we talking about before that?
I lost track of what we were saying too. I got excited about Lonnie asking the question. So we were, we were talking about rapport. We were talking about, I chase rabbits all the time, and then it completely drops out. So I say we move on, and we'll come back to it. If we do. So nurturing, top of funnel, the middle of funnel. So what we were talking about, the manual process of communicating with the homeowner, building the rapport to the degree that you can make that impulse decision, right? That's what we kind of left off on. So build enough rapport to get them over the Are you a good person? Will you do the best that you possibly can? That's where passion and rapport building comes in.
That's where I was going to go. I was going to piggyback off of that. So what I've learned in dealing with people, one thing that I've never understood is how a person could go into foreclosure. Like this it doesn't make sense to me, because I believe that as long as a person is willing to sell, there's some type of way you can work out a deal there, right? So I want to say that the reason why people go into foreclosure is because people inherently just believe that things are going to work out, right? And that's just one of our flaws. Sometimes the shit just ain't gonna work out, you know. And it's your job as the investor, as the wholesaler, or whatever you're calling yourself, it's your job to not just be like, hey, bro, like, you dumb as hell, this house is gonna go into foreclosure. Like, not like that, but to build a rapport and follow up and nurture, and then bring up examples, tell stories, even if you got to make them up, use somebody else's stories to edge them towards what Dustin was just talking about. Like, you're right, I got to sell this house, you know? And so that, because we're seeing, like, we pulling these people from specific lists, so we know the problems that they're going through, whether they choose to admit it or not. We know the problems that they're going through. The problems don't not exist because they refuse to acknowledge them. We know that they're there. We know that they're present, and we know that each day that goes by, they're running out of time, right? That's right. So that's why we got to follow up. That's why we got to nurture, and that's why we got to build the rapport.
That's right. That's exactly right. So I like the top of funnel, and I love that your nurturing is done manually, because that is the appropriate thing. So then, let's say you send out 5,000 text messages. Do you know any of the numbers off the top of your head on like a typical response rate, and then how many responses you end up in?
So, quick story. When I first got started doing this with the SMS messages, I accidentally sent out 5,000 messages at one time. Don't ever do that. Well, not being a one-person team, never send out that many messages at one time. I swear, like, I freaked out, I panicked, I deleted the campaign. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what the hell is going on. But anyway, just a quick little funny story from this. But a lot of people ignore your messages. Right. A lot of people ignore your messages because they get a text message from a phone number that they do not recognize. So a lot of guys are out here teaching just send one-off text messages. That does not work. My flow, I send a text, I wait a couple days. If they don't respond, I have another text that goes out. Wait a couple days, it says something different that makes you sound more human, right? And more often than not, most people that ignored that first text, they'll respond to that second text like, oh, I thought you were a bot. And then the conversation begins. And even the people that don't respond to that second text, guess what? 2 days from then, they're getting an RVM.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And then they're going to call you back. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were a robot. Oh, no. I've been called worse things. Anyway, how's your day?
I like that pivot. Yeah.
So it's just how you handle the situation. And every call is going to be different, for the simple fact that every person you talk to is a different individual. So a script is good to have, like, an outline. So I wouldn't even say a script. An outline is good. Like Dustin said, you guys can sign up to get their script. And from the way he described it with the questions and stuff, it's not even a script, it's an outline. You know, so these are questions that you have to ask, but you don't sit there and just read it like, do you want to sell your house? Like, that's not how you do it. You work all those questions into a conversation, an actual real life conversation between two human beings. You work all those questions in there. And to use me and Dustin's brain farts a couple minutes ago, always take notes, guys. Always take notes. Exactly. Always take notes. Always write stuff down. Always have a pen and paper or a laptop screen in front of you, or the desktop, whatever. Always take notes.
That's right.
And you can probably use your software, Notion.
Yeah, so I'll pitch Notion. It's not my software for sure, but it's what I use. And so a lot of people in the technology world use it, but it keeps track of everything in my life, my calendar and my sales, the people that I'm in communication with, short-term and long-term. I have my journal in there. I have all my recipes in there. I have product warranties for all the shit that I buy. I have every single thing in one spot, and I carry it around on my phone everywhere I go. So I never need a pen, I never need paper, and I always have the capability to just jot it down. And the fun thing about that program is it's all macro searchable, just like Google Drive or your email, right? Okay. You can type in anything that would help you remember where it is. So if you're not really good at organizing your life or organizational management, I'm terrible at it. I'm not that type of a brain, but I've forced myself to learn it. And so if you're not good at those types of things, then it allows you to have a centralized place, and the macros will allow you to do it. But then there's another book called Getting Things Done that was recommended to me not too long ago. And between Notion and the book Getting Things Done, it allows you to have a structured methodology so that you don't lose anything. And a lot of smart people, like people that are able to do wholesaling, aren't idiots typically, right? They do stupid, lots of them do stupid things, right? Put that out there, but they're not stupid people, right? And so when my brain is strong enough, we'll call it, to be able to keep a whole lot of shit in there, right? I can remember things related to business, and I can access it in my memory, and I don't ever drop it. But when you have so many different things going on between school and family and travel and you will create stress in your actual cortisol. The stress hormone will be pushing through your body if you try to keep all of these things in your head. So to your point, take notes for sure, because it allows you to release those things from your brain so that you can be a more whole person than having to try to keep track of all of these things in your head. Because when you're trying to keep track of those things in your head, and then your 5-year-old or 16-year-old son, maybe 16-year-old son says some stupid thing that makes you angry. You have all those things in your head, then you're going to react and be an asshole to your 16-year-old kid or 5-year-old kid or whatever that is, because you don't have the mental capacity to deal with one more thing. And so being able to download what is in your brain into a functional organizational method is critical, especially in this business.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I'm definitely going to check out Notion myself. I've got probably about 20 of these lying around. And if someone was to find these 100 years from now, they'd swear to God I was a lunatic. But I know where everything is, for the most part anyway. To me, I like to call it organized chaos.
Yes. There's all kinds of personality types. I mean, we could have an offline conversation about why that is, because I have a very similar brain. But like a messy desk doesn't mean that you're a disorganized person. It means that you have an organizational management process that isn't like anyone else's. Exactly. But you can only that only takes you as far. If you get excited about Notion, that you get capped out with those notebooks, right? And so when you start running multiple businesses, like you have the software and technology business, and you have your wholesale business, and you have a coaching business. When you're trying to run 3 businesses at one time, you have to be able to keep those thoughts organized and have them be in the right spot at the right time when you need them. And the idea is that you need to reduce the amount of friction that it takes to get your next task done. So just from that book, Getting Things Done, I don't know if this is who this might help, but I'm gonna say it just hoping that other people will catch on. But there's so much wasted time when you're driving, especially in Chicago, right? Chicago, just terrible traffic. Everything's under construction all the time. So, drive 10 miles, it'll take you an hour and a half. And so when you have in Notion or anywhere, if you tag your activities to while driving, or if it's a phone call, so these are let's say they're phone calls, right? So you could tag all of your activities as phone calls. And then when you're getting in the car, you can look at all your tasks and say, okay, well, it's phone time. Who am I going to call out of my task list? And then you're going to start ticking those things off. And then you can have another one that's in office. So I'm only going to do these tasks when I'm sitting down, focused in front of a computer, or in errands, right? I'm only going to do these tasks when I'm out doing errands. And so it's a way to keep all of your life organized. And I'm in love with organizational management, because hormones run your body, right? So dopamine is what you get when you smoke weed and when you complete tasks, right? And so the dopamine the hit that you get when you are able to check off a task is such a massive driving force for your personality, right? And so for everyone's personality. And so the opposite of dopamine is serotonin. You just get serotonin and oxytocin when you give someone a big hug and you build those relationships. And for you to be a human and survive in life, you have to have both of those hormones.
Both of those, yeah.
The faster you learn how to control your own dopamine hits, the faster you will be able to create your own success. And there's a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. So it's basically the computer brain, right? So when they use the success mechanism, and when you see success one time, then it is 10 times easier to replicate that success. And so checking off those lists, you get that dopamine hit, just like smoking a bowl, right? It's you check that thing off, and you say, okay, I feel great now, and you'll do it again, you'll do it again, you'll do it again. And it's better than smoking weed, I promise. And so, yeah. Cool.
Essentially, guys, what Dustin is saying is don't go for the big win, go for the small wins to build up to that big win. Because if you just concentrate on that big win and you don't get it, you're gonna lose that motivation. You're gonna use that drive. Take the little small wins on a daily basis to build you up to ultimately your big win. Exactly. And it'll come. You just stay focused and keep moving.
That's right. Thank you for drawing that back into a principal point. I go down these rabbit holes and I get really excited about it.
I do the same thing, brother. I do the same thing.
I think we could
start one conversation, then be over here like, damn, what the hell were we just talking about? I'm all the way on the other side of town now in my conversation. Like, damn, okay, let's bring it back.
Okay, so we got top of funnel, and so SMS, and there's all kinds of different top of funnel. You could call door knocking top of funnel, right? Anything that you guys want to do is top of funnel.
It's basically initial contact.
It's initial contact, exactly. Yep. And then you have the nurturing process, and that's where your a capability of communicating with humans is the critical function, because you're talking about baseball games, you're talking about dogs, you're remembering conversations from before, and then you got them at the bottom of the funnel. And so let's talk briefly about, let's give an example of one of your deals that you were able to nurture the way through, and then you get them to the bottom of the funnel, and maybe you have a story, maybe you don't, but is there anything that we can convey about bottom of funnel when you're looking for that close after you've spent all of this time? What pushes them over the edge? Do you have anything that you can relate to on that?
So I've got two different stories. They're both are subject to. One went through, the other one didn't. The first one is the one I'm going to tell you guys about, the one that didn't go through. I was driving for dollars, seeing some tall grass. My wife was like, how about that house? It was a nice looking house. It was a split foyer, 4-bedroom, 2-bath, attached garage. So I went up and left a card on the door, and the guy actually called me. I was like, holy shit, so he actually called. And so I built up a lot of rapport with this guy. I was a younger guy. He was a veteran. And so we scheduled an appointment to go out to the property. And I went out, and I guess he had some mental illnesses. He had like duct taped all of the lights in the house. He had put like, the foam squares that are in like sound studios, sound rooms and stuff like that.
Yep.
Man, he had crazy glued those all over the entire house, all over the walls, the windows, everything, right? And so I dealt with him over the course of some months and stuff like that. And he had moved back to California, and I lost touch with him towards the end, where I was supposed to be getting the contract signed, getting all the final paperwork done. I lost touch with him, and I could not regain that rapport that I had built, and he ended up pulling out of the deal. So the other one, similar situation, but this one was a wrong number. I was looking for a young lady who was going into foreclosure or something like that, and I ended up getting a guy, Nathan Bryant, who had a duplex that he had bought to try to, become an investor, essentially. But he was a little bit in over his head and stuff like that. It was more repairs than he had the budget for, and he was just like, man, I just need to sell this place. But unfortunately, the numbers just didn't line up for it to be a wholesale deal, right? So I'm like, all right, bro, so I'll just take it off your hands. And obviously he had never heard of subject twos and stuff like that. So long story short, like, we talked on a regular basis, went out to the property and stuff, just went over different things and everything like that. And he happily signed over the property to me. So I guess the differences between those two stories would be, well, number one dude was in California and the other dude was in town. But number two, like, the one that I lost contact with because of the distances and stuff and the different time zones and everything. That deal fell through. But the guy that was in town, I was able to text him and talk to him on a regular basis. That went all the way through the closing table, and still to this day, me and that guy are decent friends. So yeah. So
that's great. And
I
so
don't know if that was what you're asking for or not.
No, that's exactly what I was looking for. Yeah. So the lessons learned is, when you, we kind of talked about it before, is that if you're so stressed out or so mentally unprepared for what the bottom of the funnel, the close, the final conversations, if you didn't lay the brickwork, it's a union, what was it? Union 21 or whatever.
Yeah,
so you got to lay those bricks and you got to build that foundation. And if that foundation is not strong, then there's no way you're going to be able to close when push comes to shove. But you might spin a lot of wheels, messing around with people, and because you just don't know any better, and you don't have the mindset, you don't have the brain power to be able to understand what's actually happening in these things. And so let me go a little bit deeper into the one that got away. And so if you they were out of state, you were able to build a relationship with the people that were local, and that was an easier scenario. Is there anything that you could have done with an out-of-stater that would have maintained that rapport a little bit better?
Well, obviously, I could have hopped on a plane when I knocked on his door, But I think there was a disconnect. There was a disconnect somewhere, man. And still to this day, honestly, I think it had something to do with my attorney, because my attorney wanted that property. He's an investor as well. So I think there was a little bit of sabotage in there a little bit, and it was, he was so far away. It was just a lack of communication. But to answer your question, if there was something that I could have done differently, looking back on that, it probably would have been like flying out there and sitting down with him and holding a conversation with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, those steps are really, really important. It's on a meeting where we're looking at building $100 million project, 400 apartments in downtown Phoenix. And so it's a big deal. And for us to get this deal done, there's a couple people that are really important in order to get that deal done. And that's what my partner suggested. He's like, well, let's just get on a plane and fly to Utah. And I was like, oh, I don't want to. And so it's, but as he said it like 3 times, I was like, yeah, I know you're right. But like, it's that hard work. It's the hard work, and it's the dedication, and it's when you put yourself out there in the universe that this is something that you're going to do, it comes back tenfold, right? Yeah. So like, I don't know how it happens that way. I do, but it happens that when the seller will recognize that you're putting in that extra effort, and even if that seller doesn't sell, you will know that you put in that extra effort, and you will know what it takes in order to get these things done. And the failure will be a better story for you in the first place, So it's energy, right? Where are you going to put your energy? What is your energy going to do for you? And how do you maximize the opportunity for the opportunities to present themselves?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And not to get all metaphysical on you, but the energy you put out, you will 100% get back. I think it's the universe. Everything is comprised of energy, and you attract what you put out. So if you put out negative energy, negative shit's going to happen to you. But if you put out positive energy, where you on a daily, consistent basis moving towards something positive, and you know what you want, the universe will give you exactly what you want.
That's right. Exactly.
You just got to put in the work. You got to prove to yourself, essentially, that you actually want it. And a lot of people, they do some fly by night, and they think like real estate wholesaling and real estate investing itself is a get rich quick scheme, and it's not. It's not. This is, you have to be committed to this, or it will not work like anything else in your life.
That's right. And so I am very much on the metaphysical side, and so I'm going to I call it my hippie group, but it's a bunch of dudes that get together and we work on things like emotional intelligence, and
nice.
I won't go into the rabbit hole of that, but for sure energy, and for sure if you don't have the passion for what you're doing, then you're not going to get to the finish line no matter what, right? So it's not just about the money. Money is a tool, right? And so you're not working in order to get a tool. The tool is not something that you're necessarily passionate about. It's the end goal, right? And so if you're looking to provide financial freedom for you and your family, then that's a passion. That's a passion worth focusing on. And so if real estate is your end game for that passion. You got to be passionate about the real estate and the end game, or else you're gonna fail when push comes to shove. When that comes down to that final conversation with the seller, where everything that you've done for the past year lines up to that one conversation about whether or not this guy's actually going to sign a contract with you or not. The passion has to be there. You have to believe in yourself. You got to believe in the business, and you got to believe in the energy, right? So I appreciate it. So we're coming up on an hour, and so I try to keep these things to no more than an hour. If you had to give your sage advice to the next the people that are listening to this, either right this moment or in the near future, what would you say? What would be the best advice that you could give to the people that are either starting out or trying to get their self going, or they're just trying to get to that next level? What would you say?
Well, this is kind of geared towards like anybody with any goals in life, but really a lot with real estate, because real estate it serves a couple different purposes to me, man. I'm really passionate about real estate because I feel like I'm completing my father's dream, because that was the dream that he had for us. He was trying to build financial freedom for his children, for his sons and daughters, So my advice would be there's never a perfect time for anything. I know a lot of people that put things off because it's just not the right time. The right time is right now. If you want to walk away from your job to pursue your dream and start building your business, then do that. My advice though, make sure you have at least 6 months worth of bills put up. You cut out the clubbing, cut out the drinking, cut out the clothes, cut out all that other bullshit, and have 6 to 9 months worth of bills put up, even a year if you got more. And dive into it, man. Dive into it face first. Because as long as you're doing something that you don't want to do just because it's a check, it's stability, like you're gonna be miserable. Like I made really good money driving semis. I was miserable every fucking day, man. I was miserable. Sorry for my language. I was miserable every day, bro. Some days are better than others. On a nice, beautiful day, I'm out on the road, open road driving and stuff, all that stuff. It was good some days, but for the most part, man, I was miserable every single day. My kids at home growing pubic hair and shit, and I'm not even, they growing up, I'm missing it all because I'm out here on this road. My son's voice is as deep as mine. Now they got mustaches and all types of stuff now. You know what I'm saying? And they as tall as me. I'm 6'5", man. They almost as tall as me already. And I missed a lot of time by following somebody else's dream. And that's all it is. When you're an employee, you're following someone else's dream, man.
That's right. You're absolutely right. I appreciate that.
Dive into it.
Then the other thing that I'd probably add on to that is, Jhamel, you're obviously a leader, and find somebody. There's a bunch of gurus that are idiots, and so you just want to make sure that you find the person that aligns with your moral values, that you want to be, that you aspire to be, and if that person has the fundamental principles that you want to operate your life by, then you can quickly use what they have done to create what you want. And so there's the wheel's already been made. Everyone's already been there and done that. There's so many people out there that know exactly how to get where you're going. Mm-hmm. Try to leverage people like Jhamel to figure out what your next step is. Leverage me. I mean, it's not hard to get a hold of me anywhere, and I communicate with everybody. So it's surprising to me that more people don't take advantage of the resources that they have. And so Jhamel is an excellent resource. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He's a family man. He's someone who I aspire to be, right? So it's if Jhamel resonates with you, then I'd love for you guys to check out his product. And it should be a good. That's how success stories are made. Yeah.
I appreciate that, Dustin. But I'm trying to be like you when I grow up, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and so it's a good point. So I was referencing my mentor in Utah, and so I want to be like him when I grow up, and so he goes to the prisons and teaches prisoners how to do yoga, and so that's freaking cool. He's in Germany right now, nice. As an attorney helping out a church, and so there's he's created where he knew where he wanted to go. He got there, and then he has the freedom to do whatever he wants at this point, and now he's just giving back.
Yeah, and he chooses to use his free time to help people, man. That's awesome, man. That is awesome.
So cool.
That is amazing.
Well, Jhamel, I'd love to. I think that we get along great on a personal level, so I'd love to follow up with this conversation. But if you want to check out Jhamel, go ahead and tell them where to find you one more time.
You can find my Facebook page. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, everywhere. New Realm, R.E.L.M. And you can also check out my other page, RE Alpha Wolf. It's Real Estate Alpha Wolf. So you guys can find me out there. Just look for me.
And then if you guys are new to GeoPoint Data, we have a $50 free data giveaway. So use the code TalkDataToMe, TDTM50 for $50 in free data, and that'll get you on your way to start it in the business. So Jhamel, appreciate you. Looking forward to continuing our conversations, and have a great one.
Definitely. Hey, so y'all go sign up for the Lone Wolf Challenge and use that code to skip trace some data. Yeah. All right. So don't let the opportunity go by. But yeah, Dustin, I heard that you like talking about creative real estate investing, man. So I definitely want to talk to you about that. If we got to chop it up a little bit more later.
I'd love to. I'd love to. It's I'm even more interested in buying if you guys, if anybody can get creative real estate locked up, I'm very financially motivated to buy some creative real estate deals, some subject to deals this year. So we're super interested in that. And I'll throw out one more thing. We have spent the past 3 years building relationships with the funds, the guys that are buying houses nationally across the United States on massive scale, and a few breakfasts and 3 breakfasts in Miami 2 months ago. It represented 3 guys that were buying 30,000 houses a month between the 3 guys. And so we have a property submission widget that we would love for the wholesale community and the realtor community to utilize to get offers from the national buyers at sometimes up to 95 cents up to 105 cents on the dollar. So that obviously creates a margin opportunity for the wholesalers and realtors alike. So we'll be rolling that out and talking more about it. But like we just said, Jhamel is an amazing resource, and there's lots of amazing resources out there for you to accomplish what your goals are. So we look forward to seeing you next time.
Yep. Thanks for having me on, Dustin. I really appreciate it, brother.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for hanging out with us. I appreciate you.
No problem. Anytime, man.
Till then. Bye, everybody. Thanks so much.
Bye, everybody.